Right, now, my next guest, I'm very excited because I have met her before. When Simon and I were in Stratford a year ago this summer, obviously during the Olympics, we met a wonderful children's book illustrator called Sarah McIntyre, and she made a big impression on us, and so did her hat. A year later, we have a very good reason to invite her back because she's now she has just published her first proper book called Oliver and Seawigs. She's back in her hat. Hello.
Hello, Jo.
Did I get that right about paintings? I mean, should we just sit and look at one and then move on?
I don't know. I think I tend to sort of gallop through the museum. Like the National Gallery has this amazing medieval painting by Uccello. It's got this huge battle scene, but right in the middle, there's this man wearing this amazing red hat on horseback. And I think it's the hat that makes the whole picture.
Well, obviously, because what are you wearing on your head? It looks like... God, it looks a bit like tentacles.
I think it's a giant squid, actually.
Is it?
Yeah,
Yes.
Emerging from my head.
And who made that for you?
This is by Emma Tuft. She calls herself the Fastener, and she's a graffiti knitter, but occasionally she'll do tats as well.
She knits. There's a piece in the papers about knitting. They've made this knitted village for some kids, but it's deemed to be unhealthy because they can't sterilise the wool. Can you believe this?
Oh, that's terrible.
So they're sending it to an orphanage in Africa.
Oh,
That's an unbelievable story, isn't it?
I have a
Nasty,
studio
in a
mate
way.
named Deadly Knitshade, and she does these amazing
Deadly
installations that make the whole neighbourhood come alive. It's just incredible.
So looking at this painting, because I have attention deficit, so I never take anything in. I don't do information, as anyone will know if they listen to me for long enough, and I have to be told what I'm looking at. So there was a leaflet came with this painting, and it said, look at the fruit in the bowl, look at the hollyhocks, and so I have to be told what's there, and then I understand it more. And often art, you take it on face value, and if you don't mind my saying so, that's what I do with your work, because it's like pop art, isn't it?
Yeah.
Would you say?
Yeah, I mean, sometimes when you go to art galleries, you're looking at a painting. Like my aunt and I went to see the Wallace collection, and there was this one picture, and the lady had scissors in it, just like tucked under her basket, and my aunt was obsessed over these scissors. Like, why are they there?
Yes.
And it's the same with Oliver and the Seawigs. It's like I like to hide little things in it that aren't actually written in the text. Like there's this little crab named Colin that we've named Colin, Philip Reeve and I, the writer, and he keeps appearing all the way through, but he's never once mentioned. And in the paperback version, I think he's going to do a whole little speech, Oscar speech, thanking everyone.
How fantastic! I love the thought that that they are there, they're not mentioned, and you have to find them.
Exactly.
Which is so obviously the aquamarine theme, which goes from your hat into your book, is there. And so Philip Reeve does the text, and I've only just had a look at this book actually. I really love it because I love the fact that every single page, actually I've just opened one that doesn't, but nearly every single page
quite heavily
has
illustrated.
I was going to say heavily illustrated, and even if they don't give over the whole page to an illustration, there is a fantastic illustration in the corner, and I'm looking here at someone that looks a bit like Napoleon on deck saying, my island wants a wreck of yours, you'd better hand it over.
Oh, I should explain that. Yeah.
Yes, go on then, because is that Nelson? Is that Napoleon?
Actually, his name's Stacey DeLacy, and he's got a bit of a chip on his shoulder because his name's Stacey, and he always got teased about that. And he's got a whole army of sea monkeys at his beck and call, and basically it's all, the whole thing's about seawigs, which are these islands, and they look like islands that you might see normally, but when they stand up, you realize they're giants, actually. And they love more than anything to pile things on their heads, like shipwrecks, old flip-flops, rubber tins that wash up on the beach, anything they can find. And then they have this thing called the Night of the Seawigs, where they all compete to see who can have the most amazing hairdos and wigs and elaborate things on their heads. Because basically, I mean, think about it. If you really love something, don't you want to take it and put it on your head?
Of course you do. Absolutely. I'm just going to read a bit out. This is quite random. I've just literally turned to this page and I'm going to read it out. That's what the green tide was, pouring out of the mouths and eyes of Thurleston's old stone heads and rushing across the sea. Sea monkeys, small and smelly in their coats of greasy green fur. They giggled horribly as they swam towards cliff or scampered across the mats of drifting weed. Don't mind us, grumbled the weed mats, but the sea monkeys were immune to such sarcasm. Up cliff's beaches, they rushed, knocking poor Iris off her rock, and there's pictures of them. They sank their teeth and claws into the orange inflatable and popped it just for laughs. Oliver tried to stop them. He picked up monkeys and hurled them back at the sea. But more were landing all the time, and they were scary and dangerous looking. They bared their dirty yellow fangs and screeched at him. There's the picture. There's a fantastic double-page spread of these little... they are baring their teeth, actually, at him. What comes first then, Sarah? Does Philip write the text and then you start to illustrate, or was this your concept and he fitted in?
It's quite... We came together. We're best friends, and we kind of get together and we'll brainstorm ideas, and he'll write down a bit, and then he'll say, oh, what should we do next? And I'll say, oh, maybe something with the seaweed. And he'll say, oh, a sarcastic seaweed, like in the sarcastic sea. And I'd be like, yeah, let's do that. And then I remember in comic books, they used to have these adverts for sea monkeys. If you sent away $1, you got a family of sea monkeys.
Yeah.
And of course, no one did, because you thought, for $1, you're not going to get like a whole family of little people, but you always wondered what they might be.
There was a presenter who worked here who kept his sea monkeys in his locker, which is just behind you, and he would bring them out for literally for every show and talk about the sea monkeys, and they seem to live on forever without anyone feeding them, looking at them, or anything else. They were just there. It is interesting because this is your first book, isn't it? I think.
Actually, I have lots of picture books, and I've got a comic as well. So I have lots, but this is the first time I've done what they call a chapter book, an illustrated chapter book.
As a child, I used to call a fat book. And I always wanted a fat book as compared to a thin, meaning otherwise a hardback book. Do you, when you have a book out, I have a vested interest in this because I have a book out at the moment, and book tours, you go and you hope people will turn up and you read from your book. Are you expected to do that with children's books in schools and bookshops and all over the place?
Yeah, it's really changed. I mean, it kind of needs to be an all singing, all dancing thing. Like, we were just up at the Edinburgh Festival a couple of days ago, and we were having children all drawing sea monkeys and playing our little ukulele song about sea monkeys, and just everything. I mean, you have to kind of be bigger than life, really. And it's actually really fun because you get to swan about, and all the literary sort of adult writers are sitting there being quite serious.
Yes.
You just run in a 6 foot tall wig.
I think that, absolutely, because it's a gift. If you've got an adult book out, you think, if I sit and read this, everyone's going to fall asleep. But I somehow have to do some kind of entertainment just because they've turned up.
Yeah,
you are onto a winner because you've got kids who will do most of it for you, and crazy costumes and everything else, and fantastic pictures. You're going to be on at Daunts, I think, aren't you?
That's right. Yeah, 6:30 on Wednesday. We're doing a sort of launch party, and everyone's invited to make their own Seawig. And if you go on my website, jabberworks.co.uk, there's a place you can download activity sheets and actually make your own paper Seawig.
Well, there's a commercial on at the moment, and I really truly don't know what it's advertising, but every time I see it, I think, if I was a kid, I would have loved that. Whoever was the art director has made fantastic long sort of Raphaelite wigs out of seaweed. Have you seen it?
Wow.
And they've obviously stitched, and it really does look like it's that real flat brown seaweed. They've sewn it together so it hangs over the kids' faces, and they're running up and down the beach in these seaweed wigs.
Oh, that's incredible.
And as I say, I don't know if anyone remembers this, indeed what it's even advertising, but it's such a great image, and you think, oh my goodness, that's childhood, isn't it?
Oh, exactly.
Sticking stuff on your head.
Exactly. There's a mermaid in the book named Iris. She's my favourite character, and she just has the most incredible hair, and she's got a really big backside, and she's short-sighted, just like me, and she's my favourite. And she just has all these weird things that stick in her hair. Every single page, she's got something else in her hair.
Mermaids are magical, aren't they?
Yeah.
Aren't they? My producer says that your website is absolutely fantastic. Well, that's probably because you have total control of it. So you probably, do you contribute to it with all your own designs?
Yeah, I mean, I like to have things that people can use that are free. Like, there's a little tutorial how to draw your own sea monkey. You can watch videos, lots of things. It's really fun, actually. And I get lots of kids sending me pictures they've drawn. And adults, too, because adults love it just as much as kids.
I'm sure they do. I'm sure. Can I just ask again, very quickly, about art in London? You know, where would you suggest, apart from reading your books, children go to be introduced to art early on?
This sounds terrible. I think the cinema, actually. There's so many amazing films and things like Miyazaki animation, just amazing things that you can see on screen. And then when they've seen it on screen, they can go to a museum and appreciate more, I think, what's happening there. It's, they can make stories about the characters they see in pictures. Like the Uccello painting, they could write a battle scene. They could make a comic about a battle with people with lances and big hats. And I think making comics is something that really pulls kids into writing and understanding art.
Yes, you're right, because it's the real marriage of both, with bubbles of dialogue coming out of their mouths, and you can take risks in comics as well. I've really enjoyed speaking to you. Thank you so much, Sarah McIntyre. This is the book. It's called Oliver and the Seawigs, and Philip Reeve has done the text, Sarah obviously the illustrations, and it's published by Oxford. And if you want to see Sarah, and if you want to take your kids along, she's at Daunce in Marylebone High Street on what day?
Wednesday. Wednesday.
At what time?
At 6:30.
Okay. Good luck.
And wear awesome stuff on your head if you can.
And is there a picture of your hat? I will take a picture of your hat and put it on our website.
If you Google anatomy of a sea wig, and my picture will pop up with my 6-foot-tall Marie Antoinette wig. It's pretty awesome.
Do that. It would add inches to my height, wouldn't it?
It's made out of cling film.
Oh, is it really?
Sean.